I would love to take you on a walk down memory lane. It's the late 2000s, the Twilight movie was just released, and 1 year later, we were gifted with Fallen by Lauren Kate. Another young adult paranormal fantasy for all those who wanted some romance and the classic teen angst. And just a few years later, one 11-year-old girl walks down the book aisle of a Walmart and finds a copy of her latest obsession that she will read on the gym floor of her middle school. And thus brings us 15 years later as I revisit the Fallen series and complete it for the first time ever. Full disclosure, I have read the first 2 books 15 years ago, which is so crazy to me. I read both of these, and I also read half of the 3rd book, Passion, and then I never continued. I never finished. I never did it. So this video is us reading the whole dang series. From start to finish, we are going to read Fallen, and we are going to end with the final book in publication order, which is Unforgiven. I adore the series. I have so much nostalgic ties to it. I remember so much about Fallen, especially. It's basically if you wanted Twilight, but angels and demons, but more so just angels. Kind of light on the love triangle, to be honest, but on par with Twilight. And it's just a ball of a time, and I'm just so excited to finally sit down and re-experience the series and finish it, and I get to share this experience with you. Oh, I can't wait. So without further ado, let's jump right in and read the first book, Fallen, in the Fallen series. Good evening. We're already in the danger zone, aka bed. I'm tired. It's 8:45 almost, and I'm on the tail end of my rewatch of A Starstruck Odyssey. So it's going to take all of my willpower to not put books down, aka the series down, so that I can just binge the rest of it. We're going to be responsible this weekend. With that said, we are in bed and I am tired, so I don't know how far I'm going to get into the first book, which is Fallen. Oh, I remember this book the best, obviously. I first read this in middle school. I want to say it was 6th grade, so I was 11 or 12. I specifically remember reading this in my PE class because my school had 15 minutes mandatory reading in our, I think, 4th period. I want to say it was after lunch. We had a longer class period after lunch because there was 15 minutes added just to force us to read. And we would sit feet apart from each other. Each of us would have basically our own little X that we would sit on, and that's where we would sit on the gym floor and we would read, and it was very uncomfortable, but this was the book that I read on that gym floor way back in the day, and I have not read it since. I've not touched this since, and we're gonna dive right back in. I remember this vividly. I've seen the movie I think once or twice. It's bad. I can't wait to watch it again. But I've only read the book once. But in this, we are following Lucy and Daniel. Lucy Price. Oh my god. Every time I see the name, it just brings me back. Lucy Price is a new student at boarding school where it's the Sword & Cross boarding school. Oh my god. Where she's not allowed to leave campus very often. It's very I don't want to call it too uptight, but it's pretty uptight. It's for bad kids, the kids that can't stay in school, that are troubled. It's those kinds of kids. She sees Daniel Grigori. I didn't remember his last name being Grigori, but she sees Daniel, and Daniel's I want nothing to do with this girl. I cannot believe her. She's hot garbage. And she's he's kind of cute. And of course, the heart wants what the heart can't have. So she's very invested in getting to know him, and he's absolutely not. And then through that, of course, there's I guess you could say this is a classic enemies to lovers. She's obviously very interested in him, but he is very uninterested because he has a secret. And I guess we're spoiling this just right off the top because hi, this is going to be a spoiler-filled reading vlog of the whole series. This came out in I think 2009. So if you haven't read it yet, either you already have, or you're not watching the video. So this is a story, and I don't know how related to religion it is because I was not of that mind as a kid, but this is an angel's love story. It's a paranormal romance, and Daniel is an angel along with a bunch of his friends that all go to the school, Cam included, love triangle. And then we have Luce, our special chosen one. Whenever her and Daniel kiss, they die, and they get reincarnated, and then they find each other in the next life, and the next life, and the next life. I remember, I think it's book 3, where you get to see some of their past lives. I'm so excited. You guys don't even understand the excitement that I have for this series. Watch me read it. It's gonna be hot garbage, and I'm so scared. I'm so excited. They're like destined to never be together, but this kiss is different. And what does that mean for them and their friends? So yeah, I'm really interested in like revisiting this, as you can tell. So we're gonna do it. Oh my god, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is back in the day when like acknowledgements were the front of the book. This is so funny. But paradise is locked and bolted. We must make a journey around the world to see if a back door has perhaps been left open. On the Puppet Theater by Heinrich von Kleist. Goodness. Okay. The beginning. Helston, England, September 1854. Around midnight, her eyes at last took shape. The look of them was feline, half determined and half tentative, all trouble. Yes, they were just right, those eyes. It was hard working without her in front of him, but then he can never sketch her in presence. I'm gonna be honest, the writing is not like spectacular. It's very like simple to the point, but God, I'm so excited. So I'm going to get started. I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna check in a little bit. I don't really have like a game plan of like how often I want to be checking in or how much I want to be like talking about it. I don't know. We're just gonna kind of vibe and enjoy the ride. It's gonna be so fun. Is crazy. Anywho, page 38. We've seen the man. We haven't talked to him, but we've seen the man. Last night I got the first 3 chapters read, which puts me at page 81. The days when chapters were not short and were all about 30 pages. Anyway, I'm about to get into the detention scene in the graveyard. Fun. But before we get there, let me backtrack what's happened thus far. We've met Luce. She has arrived at Swords and Cross. We've also learned a bit of her tragic backstory as to like what happened that brought her here. It is still a bit of a mystery, especially to our character Luce. She has no idea how it happened, but she's at a completely separate boarding school and went off with some boy she had known for less than an hour, and upon their very first kiss, he combusted into flames. And he passed away. It's not funny. I'm sorry. It's just, you know, a crazy thing. It reminds me of a movie where, like, a girl sleeps with a guy. Oh, Coven. American Horror Story. Anyway, that sort of thing happens, but it's more PG because this is a young adult novel. But she can't remember what happened or what events led to it. So it's like this big mystery. But she was present for it. And she has a history, I don't want to call it of mental health issues, but she's had a past of seeing things and hearing things within the shadows, and so she's been on like antipsychotics and whatnot. Something's going on. She's not sure what, and now she is at this new school, Sword and Cross, which is like super isolating. No phones, no car. You can't leave campus. You get 1 phone call a week. Yeah, that's basically the setup. She gets to the school and she meets some of the new kids. Oh man, I have a board for us of the characters that I'm charting out and like things going on. I totally left Gabby off, so that was my bad. But Gabby and Cam are 2 of the 3 new students that she meets. Cam is not actually a new student. He's been to the school before and I guess like escaped and then is returned. And so he's like familiar, but he's like within the new student bunch. And Luce has no clue what's going on, very fish out of water. And she gets to meet her new bestie, Ariane, who kind of takes her under her wings, shows her around campus, explains kind of the dynamics between the different students. Again, it's a school for troubled teens. And so Ariane, being one of those specialer students that has a wristband, you kind of keep watch on them. But we also get some light flirtation with Cam, and Severo is making this a challenge to film today. Luce cuts Ariane's hair so that they can have matching haircuts like good best friends should. And then from there, Luce gets her first look. Page 38 gets to see Daniel for the first time, where he smiles and politely flips her off. High school can never be so simple. So we have already met Cam, Daniel, and Ariane, and Gabby, all in this period of time. We go to class. In between class, we have lunch. And the cafeteria is where you have to meet every mean girl ever. So we meet Molly, who is a nasty girl for really no reason that we understand as like a first-time reader. If you're Luce, this is told in 3rd person, but limited 3rd person, so it's still very much like Luce's perspective. And she has no clue why this Molly girl hates her so much, but Molly literally dumps her meatloaf on her, mushes it all in her hair. I will remind you, if you are unfamiliar, Luce is also vegetarian. So just like, having a bad day. And Ariane, a true friend, throws a punch, gives Molly a black eye, and then her bracelet goes off because she's one of like the special students. Like, I think they say a third of the student population have these bracelets because they're like the more troubled kids. And so it starts shocking her and she has to be carted away. Luce leaves after noticing that Daniel totally saw everything that happened. She goes to clean up in the bathroom where she meets her other bestie, Penny Weather, who is actually not a troubled teen whatsoever, but is kind of like nepotism but like not in a cool way. Like, yeah, my dad's the dean. It's my dad was the groundskeeper and also is dead, which is just unfortunate. There was a moment when I was reading the beginning of the story on camera and I had like a flashback memory of like what I know is to come of the pain. Penn helps Luce clean up in the bathroom and then Luce goes to class. Nothing else like too crazy happens. We get to meet Daniel for the first time officially on page when Luce was going to Ariane's room in the evening because it's like dorms. They all have their own their own solo single rooms. She meets Roland, who is Daniel's best friend. And I think also our only character of color. So 2009, baby, is super pleasant and very nice to Luce and lets her know where the library is and that she should check out the like special East Wing. She sees Daniel and they have a not unpleasant but not pleasant conversation where he's like, do you like being snuck up on? Because like I personally don't. If you're not going to leave, I guess I will. And Luce is like, oh my god, he's drawing me. He's not. He's drawing the graveyard, but he fully walks away. But she's like, I feel so comfortable around him. I can't explain why. I want to be around him because like the shadows don't bother me. Like I'm not gonna see anything if he's here. Foreshadowing's a little heavy, but I'm eating it up. I'm having a great time. So they have their little meet cute, and that's basically where I left off. But I want to point out that the East Wing of the library is not cool books. It's not exclusive books or like secret things. No. It's a Civil War museum with Confederate maps. Why is it always the Confederacy? I understand that this is set in like Savannah, Georgia, and like that is like the historical context of the state, but like why? Why do we always have to do this? Like, I love the Vampire Diaries. Why? Anywho, that was one of the weird things that I had flagged on this reread. I'm pretty sure my middle school self did not clock that whatsoever. And the other thing that I noticed is just like the way the girls are kind of talked about is a little bit strange. It's not been like blatantly bad or anything too aggressive. It's not been like super woman hating, but there was a moment when Luce was giving Ariane the haircut so that they would match. And like her inner dialogue was basically like, wow, Ariane can pull off this haircut. She kind of looks like me, but malnourished. It's like, okay. A little weird. There's been a few strange choices in the writing that I'm just like, okay. And again, like, it's not like good writing. It's just like very standard, like things are happening, get you through it. But I am really having fun with the reread. I'm like having a blast. I am picking up on the things, but it's like, it's not impacting my experience whatsoever. I'm just having such a good time. I love seeing all these characters again and like remembering everything that's to come. But yeah, we're in detention because of the cafeteria scene. So they are going to be spending the morning at the graveyard. Oh my god, and I totally forgot to mention that. When we met Daniel, we saw Daniel across like the courtyard or whatever. This motherfucker is wearing a black leather jacket and red scarf. And that's like his thing. That's like his attire. It makes me laugh every time I think about it. We just got to like, we're in the graveyard and like he's there with a stupid red scarf. Oh, and she thinks he's so gorgeous and dreamy and she's like so into him, but she's also like so into Cam. So it's hard to say. She's literally not had a single conversation with either of these men on like a even remotely deeper level, but it's so fun. I have made it 183 pages. I'm now on chapter 9. So I thought I would give my little update. It's so hard to not just like want to stop like every couple pages and just be like, so this is what's happening. This is happening now. Because I don't know if that would like, if you're interested in the book, you would just read the book, so I don't need to like give you the entire play-by-play, but I want to. I'm having fun. It's exactly like what you would expect a paranormal romance of the early or like late 2000s to be. It's moving so fast, yet nothing has happened at all. Like, we're approaching the halfway mark. Nothing has happened. Like, there's been a couple incidents of like close calls and brushing of hands and things of the sort, but like nothing plot has happened. Like, we haven't learned about anything yet. Nothing, no secrets have been revealed or anything. There was a party, and then there was like gym day. The interactions between Daniel and Luce have been a lot of saying things and being like, oh wait, I can't say that, I have to backtrack. And so the foreshadowing, when you know the book and you know that like this is a fated mates type of story, which is one of my favorite tropes, and maybe this is why I love the trope so much, but there's just something about like being so deeply known by somebody that really does it for me. And this book does it for me because they have known each other in every lifetime. And so the way that he's like, you've always been a good swimmer, and she's like, you don't know me, how would you know that? And like there's like those few slip ups where you're like, when you know, you know. And so it's fun to pick up on now, but like the first time you're just like, interesting, weird, why? But yeah, I don't know, it's fun. I'm still enjoying like the side characters. I would say that the dialogue is fine, but the narrator for this audiobook is a little bit cringe because she's making them sound younger than they are. The reason that I wanted to check in with you is because we just had this like little lake moment, which you have seen a similar scene in Red, White, and Royal Blue. You have seen a similar scene in the After books, I think in like one of the John Greens. Like, it's a very like of this era young adult trope that it's so fun. You swim out, you're on a dock and a lake, you have to like strip down into your like tank top and whatnot, and then like one of them like angsty swims away and it's like, this conversation's done, I can't handle it anymore. It's so classic, but it's so fun. But the purpose that I'm bringing it up is that when he swims back to shore and leaves her on the rock, she's like, it's so strange, there's just like something about him, like he was really fast, like faster than he should have been, and there's just like a bit of this like aura where like the water just comes right off of him and it almost looks like he has wings. You're kidding. Oh, it's so wonderful. So yeah, I'm having a great time. It's truly been so hard to not like just stop and be like, they talked, or there was this interaction with Cam. It's very much like got that Twilight love triangle feel where it's like Cam is just this pure nice guy for the most part, at least at this point in the book. Like, he's just nice, he just wants to get to know her, but like it's also moving quite fast. Lucinda's character also moves very fast, where she's just like, I'm gonna tell Daniel that I think we've met before because he seems so familiar to me. And it's like, girl, you've been at the school for like not even a week, like let's chill on the interactions a little bit. But she's so boy crazy about Daniel, obviously, and everybody knows because she can't stop staring at the guy. But then you also have Cam, who's just like this nice guy who's like trying to comfort her, takes her on like romantic dates, like is showing that he cares, whereas Daniel's very like hot and cold. And so you've got that like classic love triangle. It really brings me back. This is such like a nostalgic read for me that I am for sure like rose tinted glasses. Like, I can't have a problem. It's too much fun for me. But yeah, I am loving the like love triangle. I feel like love triangles are kind of having their comeback right now, so it's kind of fun to like read an OG version of it. But anywho, that was kind of my update. I just wanted to like hint that like, ooh, they've mentioned wings for the Angel book. So it's very fun. I would say that like the mentions of the Confederate army, too many. It's too much. I'm not like a super big fan of how often it's been referenced and talked about, but like whatever. There has not been a lot of like religious talk. There's been like, obviously they're on a Swords and Cross campus, but there's a graveyard and a church that converted into a gym. So like there's a lot of like religious symbols in the campus atmosphere, but like we haven't sat in a religious class studies quite yet. And we're like doing a project on like family trees, but there's not like any reference yet to like biblical. Like there was one mention of like, well, it's not Eden, it's a cemetery. So like there's been mentions of God and like some biblical things, but nothing like crazy. It's not like heavy hinting at religion. So I am intrigued to see where that goes. Our character does mention that she was raised agnostic. So yeah, I just don't remember. But I think it's strange that there's more Confederacy references than there are biblical. But whatever. That's my only like real like issue, complaint, critique with this, I suppose. But like overall, I am thriving. So I'm gonna keep reading. for as long as I possibly can. This is kind of my only plan for the night. So I'm gonna truly jump back in. I might heat up some pizza from last night, and bada boom, bada bing. That's kind of my plans for the evening. I'm having a fantastic time though. I just need you to know that I'm having like so much fun. Like I'm not like a big nostalgic person. Like it's not something that I'm often like seeking out or thinking about, but something about this is like really hitting for me, and I'm just having a really good time. So wanted to tell you. And I totally forgot to mention that like she keeps seeing the shadows and hearing them, and that it's getting worse since being at the school. And there was one incident when she like thought she saw like the shadows, and then an angel statue fell on her and Daniel had to protect her. Love that. But I did want to mention that like her shadows kind of correspond to bad things happening, and the shadows have been happening like more frequently, which has been like kind of concern for her. And so that's kind of like the most like plot thing that's really going on besides like school and like social interactions. But like again, nothing has really happened. Hello. I have finished Fallen, the first book in the Fallen series. Oh goodness. It's so hard because like obviously, as we've talked about, this is a nostalgia read for me. So like it's hard to know how to like objectively rate something like this because oh boy, the issues. The pacing of this book is so whack and all over the place. The way that it falls into like the insta-love territory where the author is setting it up like they're destined to be together. Every 17 years they come together. But once they come together, she dies and he has to relive 17 years over and over and over again to find her. But it's also like a bigger picture where all of the fallen angels are kind of damned to an eternal life of watching these events happen over and over and over again and unable to return to either heaven or hell depending on the team side that they're on. So like I can see like the religious symbols from that, but it still isn't like super duper religious-y. Weirdly enough, like obviously it's talking about angels and the fall and everything, but it's not like preaching to us, which is cool. It's different this time because Luce wasn't baptized and like raised religious like all the previous lives, which is just, you know, interesting take. But the way that this book just slingshots you through the whole thing, like the halfway point is when a student dies. We lose Todd. That's his grave right there. We lose Todd. Fire in the library. So this is technically like Luce's second death that she's been a part of in some way, but he dies and then we like slingshot forward, like the kiss has happened, she hasn't died, we're gonna learn the truth about like the fallen angels and whatnot, but like minus the villain monologue happening, Luce wouldn't know anything. Somehow she talks to Daniel and she's like, I know what you are, and he's like, say it. She's like, angel. But like how did she piece that together from a singular photograph of them in the 1800s? Like that just doesn't, like how would your mind logically leap to that of all things? Doesn't make any sense. Excusing the like insta love, the way that these characters never talk to each other beyond like 5 sentences and somehow like they're confessing their love to each other. Ignoring those issues, it is fun. I wouldn't say that it's well written or anything, but you know, it's a good time. I don't hate it. It's just as dramatic as you would expect a paranormal romance from 2009 to be. Like, it is giving Twilight. It's giving you the exact vibes that you're expecting from a book like this, which is fun. And now I get to reread the next book. Oh, my books are out of order. Why? Which is Torment. Again, I have read this one before, but not since middle school. I just know that, like, I found these books at Walmart. I was a kid. My mom and I would go shopping for groceries at Walmart, and she'd let me walk down the book aisle, and every once in a while I'd find a book. And I was very lucky to have a mom who really encouraged my reading. Not the type of mom to just like buy me anything that I ever wanted, but if I specifically wanted books, she would make sure that was like somewhat a priority so that I was able to read, and that was something that she cared about. So we would go to Walmart and I'd walk down the book aisle, and that's how I would find out a next book would be out, because I would see the new release and I'd be like, yeah, I need that. She's coming home with me. So I've read this one. I actually don't remember anything from this one. I just know that like Daniel and Cam are having like a little truce after a fight. They both are fighting for the same girl who's destined to always fall in love with Daniel. And We know that Daniel is on the good side of the fallen angels, where Cam is like on the fence between the two, and then like Molly, Roland, Miss Sophia, they're like the bad fallen angels. And it's hard to know, but one of them wants like hell on earth, but if the good guys win, no one knows what's gonna happen. Hell on earth, that's what it's like for Luce to be apart from her fallen angel boyfriend Daniel. It took them an eternity to find one another, and now he has told her he must go away. Just long enough to hunt down the outcast immortals who want to kill Luce. Daniel hides Luce at Shoreline, a school on the rocky California coast with unusually gifted students. Nephilim, the offspring of fallen angels and humans. At Shoreline, Luce learns what the shadows are and how she can use them as windows to her previous lives. Yet the more Luce learns, the more she suspects that Daniel hasn't told her everything. He's hiding something dangerous. What if Daniel's version of the past isn't entirely true? What if Luce is really meant to be with someone else? The second novel in the addictive Fallen series, where love never dies. Yeah, it's giving Twilight. It's giving New Moon. But I'm here for it. I'm sad. I'm having a good time. I can't complain. I'm gonna just literally jump right into this. I'm gonna make some lunch, and we're gonna read this bad boy, and it's gonna be a great time. This one is literally the exact page length as the first book. They're both 452 pages. I also need to update my board because we have to include Penn's death, which I knew was gonna hurt me. It's just so sad. I have to include Penn, and then I think I'm gonna redraw my guys so that we can have the good and bad on either side of the board. There's a world in which I explained the first book to you, Fallen, through like the old school YouTube Draw My Life, as if I'm Lucinda Bryce. There was a world in which that happened. Luckily, you're just getting this weird reading vlog of nostalgia instead, but there was a world. We're literally starting the book, and Daniel, like with Daniel and Cam in the prologue, and they're like, Daniel just can't stay away for 18 days. That's too long to be away from Luce. She'll never agree to it. Oh my god, teens are so dramatic. They're like out here killing hitmen who are going after Luce. And he's like, 18 days is just too long to stay away. That's crazy. That's crazy. The other thing that we keep talking about is that this is like the last chance. We can't give Luce too much information because she could die. And if she dies, then she won't get reincarnated. Can't you just baptize her, though? And then she'll reincarnate and we can go over the cycle again? Question mark? I just don't fully understand. That does feel like a loophole we could buy into if her life was so at risk. But I don't know. What do I know about religion? I have updates. It's a little while later. Ended up going to my mom's for some like rib dinner, but we also had to make a dessert, which turned out really good. I got the recipe from for now it's an older Books and Lala video where she like shared this like copycat recipe. I made it. It was great. It was a fantastic decision. I loved it. But I also made progress this morning in Torment. I read up to 137 pages, about to start chapter 6. And I must say, I do vaguely remember this book, not nearly as much as I remember Fallen. For somebody who read Fallen once, I remembered that book. This one not so much, but I'm having a more enjoyable time reading this one without like that nostalgic feeling, which is kind of strange. This one, the couple's been separated because like there's a truce between the angels and demons, and Luce is kind of in the center of it all, but like they have to keep her safe, so they put her in a new boarding school in California called the Shoreline, which is like a school for mixed angels of different types. So like quarter angels, half angels, whatever, like the spawn of angels. And so they end up at this school, and there's like a cloak kind of, so they're harder to find. So Luce will be harder to find. So that's where she is. We meet Miles, who's one of the male students who's like really not great at finding his powers. And then there's Jasmine and Dawn, who are really good friends. And then her roommate, Shelby. And then Roland from the first book, who's a demon, transfers schools to kind of keep an eye on things, even though he seemed like he was really good friends with Daniel. So much drama. But those are kind of like the new characters we're meeting, and I'm enjoying them a lot. I also really appreciate that Luce is still dealing with the loss of her best friend Penn. Like, Penn died in the last book, and she's constantly thinking of Penn, not in a way that's like too much, but just in a way of like dealing with grief. It's only been maybe a couple of weeks, if even. And so it's really nice to see her still grappling with that and it not just being like happened and like not thinking about it any further. I really appreciate that in a novel. But yeah, I'm liking the side characters
I think a little bit more, just because we're getting a lot more one-on-ones because Daniel's not around. She's still thinking about him, but not nearly the same. But like her life is also in danger, so there's like a little bit more stakes to the novel. I'm having a good time with this. I'm actually really enjoying it. I really like that we're learning about these shadows, which are called they're not like I want to say they're the apprentice, but I'm pretty sure that's not it. The announcers, something like that. But basically, they're the shadows, and Luce is trying to disregard the teacher's warnings and is trying to figure out how she can use the shadows to see her past lives and unlock her memories. So, yeah, that's where we're at, 137 pages. It feels like a lot more has happened in this book than like most of Fallen. And so I think for that, like just as a plot girly, I'm also enjoying this much more. So I'm going to settle in and get some more reading in because I'm actually really excited to be continuing in this. So I've made it halfway, and plot wise, nothing really has happened. Just like slow progress towards the announcers and shadows and whatnot. But I must say, the romance part of this, which is like the main part of it, I am glad that like Luce is realizing these things and talking about it and acknowledging that Daniel sucks. He tells her nothing. They don't know each other. They are literally strangers. He loves her because he's known her forever. She doesn't know him because she has no memories of him. And he won't tell her anything. He won't answer any questions. And they can't technically be together. So he just keeps like showing up. But he keeps being like, it's a danger if I'm around you. But then like continuously shows up because he can't stay away. And it's like, well, you're putting her at risk. Like you're wanting something bad to happen to her. Like people are finding her because you keep showing up, and every time you show up, the first thing you do is fly her into the air. It's like, yeah, that's a little bit obvious. And then on top of that, you've got just his bad attitude. He doesn't really respect her. He kind of just wants to like make out with her and like part ways, like again, not telling her anything, not communicating. And I understand why there needs to be some secrecy, but like not to this level. And like we know that he has a secret. We don't know what the secret is, but it's some kind of secret that's like bad enough that it could end their relationship. But it's just like Cam treated her better than this, and like they had some personalities. Miles is a great dude, just like a normal guy who's treating her well and bringing happiness to her. I'm glad that like Luce is realizing these things, and it's not just us, the reader. It's like she's also acknowledging it so she can try and hopefully work through it with him, but like he's not really given a whole lot. He's not doing much. So he's being a little bit annoying. Like the romance in this is like, why would I be rooting for you guys? You guys kind of suck. But besides that, I'm so sorry. My head hurts and I'm quite tired, but it's like 8 p.m. But I think I'm going to take this party maybe to bed and get some sleep because my head is killing me. And I don't know why.
Just finished Torment, and I'll make this quick just because I have my fan going, but I really like this book. It's not perfect by any means. It really has the issue of lacking any reason as to why I should be rooting for Daniel and Luce to be a couple, because we introduce another love triangle into this where we have Miles, who's just like a genuinely nice guy. But of course, Luce can't just have a male friend. He has to also fall in love with her. He like genuinely likes her and treats her well and is just a better companion. And the whole time, every moment we have Daniel on page, he's fighting with Luce. He's telling her what to do in a very controlling way. He's not communicating anything. He's not telling her anything. Just completely leaving her in the dark and is somehow expecting her to fall in love with him. And like they keep saying they're in love, but like they don't know each other in this life. She doesn't remember anything from the past, and although she's like figuring it out sort of with the announcers, it's really just like
the tip of the iceberg. And so it's really frustrating that, like, Daniel knows past versions of her, but doesn't know anything about, like, her current situation. And this is the first lifetime where things are different and she didn't die right away. And yet he still won't communicate with her. He's not explaining anything. He barely wants to be with her. And when they are together, they're fighting. And it's just, it's not pleasant. I can totally understand my tween self, like, romanticizing this book so much because it is, you know, past lives and soulmates and just, like, feeling loved because you're so known by somebody. And just the romance of that, but also the romance of every 17 years. Like, that's a lot of history that you get to live, and I think history is kind of cool and easy to romanticize if, you know, you don't worry about, like, all the disease and dirty and sickness and whatever. But I just think overall it makes sense why I liked it back then. Of course, I'm not going to see, like, how toxic their relationship is as disturbing as I do now. When you're a teen, you're like, yeah, he might be brooding and rude at times, but he's cute. But I just can't stop picturing him with that stupid red scarf, so, like, he's not even that cute to me. But I don't know. I can understand my teen self enjoying this book series more and, like, rooting for the romance more. But I also think that, like, every other optional love interest, Miles, Cam, have just been exponentially better than Daniel. And I'm really looking forward to jumping into Passion, where we get to see their past lives and understand the context behind their relationship and, like, get to know them better as a couple, as each other, as, like, individuals that come together. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I finished Torment. I would say that if I was objectively rating these books, Fallen would probably be 3.5 stars. And I would say Torment would probably be 4 stars. But the nostalgic of Fallen kind of rates it a little bit higher. So I think they're equally around 4 stars, realistically. Hi. So that's where we're at. It is currently 9:47 p.m. So I'll probably start on Passion, but I probably won't get super far because your girl's gotta sleep. Hi. I have been meaning to talk to you guys for, like, a couple days now, at least. Sorry about it. I've made progress in Passion. I think I'm, like, 92 pages in, but I remember I wanted to stop because I wanted to talk to you guys before I just, like, continued, and then days have passed, so my bad. But I've made progress in Passion, and I'm really enjoying it just as much as I thought I would or had remembered. It's so funny because this is the one that I didn't finish. Like, I literally have my bookmark from middle school. Bookmark. I'll show you later. I literally still have it in the book and never removed it. I know, it's crazy. And so I still have it in the book and I never finished it, but I have the most fond memories of this specific novel because this is the one where we get to see, like, their love story, the history. And I kind of eat that up. Like, so far we've been to Moscow, 1947. It's like World War II. And then we go back to Italy, World War I. And now we are in, like, England, and it's like, oh, it's about to get so good because I remember, but they're, like, messing up the timelines now, and Luce is meeting past Lucinda, who's, like, this wealthy, I don't know historical terms very well because I don't read historicals, but, like, a super prim and proper lady of, like, high status. And Luce is like, I'll be a little maid, and she's made friends with a little fucking gargoyle named Bill. This book walked so the night the moth could run, and I love that for me. But yeah, she's got a little gargoyle who's kind of, like, helping whisper in her ear, trying to get her the answer she's looking for. She's gonna play, like, maid to get closer to Lucinda in hopes of learning about their life, which is, like, fun. So yeah, like, nothing crazy. I do think it's kind of funny. Like, the whole premise of this book is, like, Lucinda jumped into an announcer, which is, like, a shadow portal to the past because she wants answers on their relationship. I swear to God, it's been maybe 2 weeks, and I understand that Thanksgiving was a horrible, horrible time, and, like, I too would probably want to get away after that. Like, that was scary. But, like, running away to the past because you and your boyfriend have had maybe a few conversations and, like, to smooch, and you've known each other for, like, a couple of weeks. Yeah. That's normal teen behavior, actually. That's exactly what I would do. I thought this was, like, truly peak romance. I was like, this is what romance is. Like, if he is not chasing you down through shadows and portals into, like, other years and going to the past to, like, find you, Oh, don't want him. Can't have him. But yeah, either way, I'm having a really good time. I really just love the atmosphere of like being in the past. Like the first two where it's like we're in the war, less fun, but you really feel the time and just like being in a different country. And there's something about that I really enjoy. So as you can tell, I need to go take care of that boy. I'm gonna take care of him, and then I'm truly crawling into bed. I'm probably gonna read, and I'm gonna play Town to City. So see you later. Good morning. Last night I read almost up to my old bookmark, which is now to be shared with you. I think I had the right idea, the right vibes for sure. I am now up to chapter 10, almost 200 pages in. And I have a timeline going. You can't see super well because of the blanket, but I've got a timeline here at the bottom of the third book. Our current day, I'm estimating, is about 2009. I assume that it was set before they were written type of thing, but I don't know like if they were earlier 2009s. They don't have like a super distinct vibe. But then we've got the years that we have traveled back in time to go on this journey. Basically, Lucinda's whole thing is she is trying to find proof that her and Daniel actually love each other, and it's not just a curse that is bringing them together, and that they're not just like feeling that zing, because Lucinda's very like cautious and aware that because of this curse, there is a chance perhaps that maybe they just feel a zing, but they're not actually in love because they don't really know each other. Every 17 years, we get to see bits and pieces of Daniel and Lucinda's past romances, but they don't ever last very long. I think maybe the most that they spend time together is maybe a couple of months. And that's assuming that they don't fall in love before then. Basically, like, falling in love is the key. But, like, they don't talk. They don't know each other. We haven't seen the initial moment that, like, started the curse that, like, really solidifies their love. And it's really hard in this age of 27 reading a book like this and going, that's really interesting, because I also don't know you guys are actually in love. So I'm just like, where do you find the romance in there? But we've got Bill, the gargoyle. I did draw him. Maybe not my best work. I've not drawn a gargoyle before. It's okay. It's fine. But I'm excited to see now, like, where we go from here. I don't know anymore. I don't think that I finished this, but I have marked it that I've read this before on Goodreads, like fully. Excuse you. And so now I'm wondering if I did fully read this and then just stuck this image in a random spot and that wasn't actually like a bookmark placeholder. I don't know anymore. It's going to be interesting tonight when I pick this up to finish it, if any of it sounds familiar or if I'm actually like goofing gagged by some of the twists and endings. I will say that not a whole lot really happens in these books, but this one has been my favorite just because I love seeing like the time travel aspect, which is interesting because I actually don't like time travel in books. I don't know what that means. I think I just enjoy the series, so I have like a nostalgia feeling towards it. So I'm like, well, yeah, it's fun to go into history. It's actually really cool, but it's not normally something that I enjoyed a lot, but I have been having a good time. I really like being with Lucinda. We're like away from all of the side characters except for Bill. We do get Daniel's perspectives, which is kind of nice. So it alternates back and forth between his journey and her journey as they're going through time and like seeing the same things, but he's just kind of consistently missing her, but also like is choosing to stay behind it sometimes because he's like, I owe it to this girl to like watch her die again. Okay. And then we find out that he just like sleeps for a really long time after she dies, like waiting for her soul to be reincarnated, which can take like a few days sometimes. So there was like one scene where he just like lays down next to a grave in the snow and just fucking passes out. It's like, would nobody else see this and be like, oh, this young boy, we should probably help him? Anyways, interesting. But I do wish that we got a little bit more of the side characters. We get to see glimpses of them in the past. She's had one conversation with Roland, but I just like want a little bit more. I do enjoy Bill just as like a comedic side character, but I also know there's something like nefarious going on with him. And so that makes me think that I've maybe finished this. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm second guessing myself. I'm questioning my own truth here, but I'm having a good time. I would say that the most questionable time in the past would be Tibet, because she's described to be like, oh, sorry, it's Tahiti, because Lucinda's like explained to be like the darkest she's ever been, and they're getting tribal tattoos. It's just like a little bit strange. I don't think it's too offensive. We honestly spend the least amount of time, like mid-chapter we're going to a new time. So it's not really that bad. It could have been a lot worse, especially that we were like in the 1800s England, and Roland, who's the only Black character, was a servant in that time. So there was like mentions of it, and she's like, don't worry, it gets better, people suck. But like no deeper exploration there whatsoever, except for like, that sucks. Anyways, off I go. But it's fine. She's the main character. She's really not thinking about like the world around her or anything. So what can you do? But I do kind of want to see more side characters, more interpersonal relationships, something more than just like her going time and time again, just like, but why are we in love? I don't get it. And it's like, girl, no one gets it. But there was a part that I wanted to bring up where Bill was like, you guys are soulmates. Just watch. Like, you guys are clearly in love. Daniel's like clearly vying for your love, even though it's automatic to you, he's still going to fight for it. And there was a conversation where Bill was saying, your soulmates, it's just gonna happen. And that they're like, they coined the term soulmate. Like, they are the definition, they are the starter pack of what soulmates is. And it just made me think of like, yesterday at the office, we were having a conversation about soulmates and like what that means to people. And I'm just like, it's such an interesting way. I'm a firm believer that people can have multiple soulmates in life and not necessarily have to be like a romantic thing. I do think that I've probably met my soulmate, and I was too young and stupid to actually like do anything proper about that, and I think that bridge has been burned, so whoopsie daisies. But I do think that soulmates exist. I just don't think that soulmates exist in a one-to-one only, because I fear it is impossible for billions of people to exist on a planet and you only have a soul connection to one of them. Like, I don't think so about that. Nah, you can catch me not fucking with that. But I do like the idea and the romanticization of soulmates or fated mates, which I think is why I lean towards them so heavily with romantasy, because it's sweet. It's kind of nice to be like, I know that is my person and I'm going to fight for them and choose them every day. And I don't want the cop-out of soulmates who just instantly fall in love and like have no conflicts and it's easy for them and they don't actually know each other before falling in love, because that also bothers me. But it's just, you feel the zing, you know? Anywho, that's all that I have for you at this moment. I will keep updating my timeline and keep reading, but I have to go into the office today. Stinky work job. So I will check in with you guys when I have more thoughts as I go on, but I will be finishing this tonight, mark my word. I need to push through. I've been reading this for a while, and it's not that I'm not enjoying it, I just am not interested in sitting down and physically reading a book, but I also feel like it's a disgrace to myself if I only listen to the audiobook, you know? So it's like a weird situation I'm solely putting myself in. So here we are, but I'm off to the office.
From your mom and your dad, you're in town, and that you're meeting some friends for sundown. I've been told, I've been told.
Hello, I am showered and I have finished Passion. I have like a lot of mixed feelings kind of towards this one. I do like seeing the history of their love story, of like their souls reconnecting time and time again and seeing the different situations that they lived in past lives. I think it's fun. I definitely think it's a little bit filler, because most of the book you are just going through the past and Luce is learning how to break the curse, or are they actually in love, and she's getting these answers to her questions. But it's really funny to be like, this is my man. That man, that's my man. In every life, we will always choose each other because we are so in love. Yet, she doesn't know who Cam is and like what Cam's relation. Like, Daniel sees Cam as a brother, even if they're on slightly different sides. They're like the closest of friends that they could have, even though like they don't always see eye to eye. But she doesn't understand the relationship. And so every time Cam pops up, she's like, oh, why is Cam here? I gotta get away from him. I can't be around him. And it's like, that's like your boyfriend's brother. That's a weird thing to feel. And she just doesn't understand that. But then like also he's like fully killing people or fighting in wars. And it's never been like, and Daniel's doing stuff for the greater good. It's Daniel is doing stuff for Lucinda, and that's the only existence he cares about. It's like literally like date, fall in love, watch her die, be sad, repeat. It's not
help people who are in poverty, like you could, or end slavery. It's nothing like super heroic and deep. Like they're literally in ancient China, and he's like, I joined the rebellion to kill the king so that I could save you from this like marriage you were being forced into. And she's like, well, I killed the king. And he's like, great, we should run away then. We should completely forget about this war, not be involved. Let's go live out a good life somewhere else. Like, just kind of has no backbone, and also like lacks character. Like we still don't really know who he is or why he loves Sebro. I offered you to go outside and you said no. So although Luce goes on this journey of being like, why are we in love? What does this mean? She really doesn't get to know him in any of the lives, but I also thought it very interesting that during my reading experience, I literally, there's this thing that Bill, Lucifer, introduced her to called 3D, which I thought was really funny. But basically, like, going 3D means that Lucinda can share a mind and soul and body with a previous Lucinda, and she can get all of her, like, emotions and memories and whatnot. And so she does that a couple of times. And in those moments and outside of those moments, whenever she meets up with Daniel, it's not her Daniel, because, like, her Daniel is, like, the present modern day. And she's, like, with a bunch of these other guys who don't know what's happened in the future, but, like, some of the Daniels know, like, the past stuff. And part of me was like, I understand that these are the same men, technically, on like a soul level. I understand that. But it does low-key feel like cheating every time she's running into a different Daniel's arm who has like no clue who she is in this life and is just like, I don't know, it just felt weird to me. There was just something about that I was just like, I don't know about that. I still don't like fully buy in to the romance, so I am hoping that the 3.5 novella Fallen in Love will kind of give me maybe a little bit more insight into what I'm looking for, like a cute date or something. But to wrap up my thoughts on Passion and where we leave off, it's very funny. So we find out Bill, the little gargoyle that's like helping her out, turns out to be Lucifer. And in the last like hurrah, as they go back to Heaven's Gates right before the fall happens, I thought it was so funny how Lucifer's, and here's my dastardly plans, lays it all out. And then she reconnects with her Daniel. They go back to the current timeline, meet up with all the other fallen angels in their circle for the most part, not the teachers, not these ones, basically. They all get together. And she's like, so here's everything that Lucifer planned. We have 9 days to stop the end of the world. So I'm assuming that the rapture, hence, you know, the biblical term of like everybody returning to heaven and whatnot. Although Lucifer's plan is to take all of the angels from the past during the fall, put them into an announcer, like this hole, transport them to the future, and he wants to erase the last, like, 1,000 years or whatever. Like, he wants to completely do, like, a wash because Daniel basically was like, you guys are going to war, but really we should all be here for love. It's all about love. Love is the most important. Lucifer's like, okay, then your girlfriend's gonna just die forever. Like, she will never survive. And he's like, well, that's not very fair. I thought you were like a... And they never specifically say God, which is interesting. It's Lucifer and the other guy, the other one who's talking. So we do technically meet God, but God's like, fine, I guess if you guys can break the curse and like she's not choosing a side and she's like a neutral Switzerland party, then maybe you guys could be together. That's kind of like his thing, but he's like, yeah, no, I think she should also die forever. Like, merciful God, as you know, fun stuff. I would say that the last 25 pages were like about the fall and then the epilogue where they get together. But it's like, there's enough about the fall and all of that, but it's not like super biblical, interestingly enough. It's not really like about Adam and Eve or about the fall necessarily. It doesn't necessarily explain Lucifer's motives. Anyways, these dogs are going to get real annoying real fast. So overall, I did like it. Again, it kind of felt like filler. It sets up the rapture to have like a 9-day countdown until the end of the world or whatever. And hopefully like the love will overcome it all. But before we get into that, we get to go into this little novella, which is going to follow a bunch of different characters' love stories, which is going to explain stuff in Rapture. So this came out publication order 3.54. Whoa. So that's how I'm planning to read it. But I think that was all of my thoughts. Basically, we're coming together. We're teaming up. The goods, the bads, the demons and the angels of the fallen angel varieties are coming together. And they're going to figure out how to stop Lucifer from basically erasing history. So we'll see how that goes. It's the last book, so like hopefully all good things for them, right? But I'm getting started onto this now. So I am excited. I also forgot to say, I have fully read this. I knew how this ended. I knew that Bill was going to be Lucifer. Like, that was not a shock to me. How this ended, the epilogue was very familiar. I was like, oh, no. I did complete this in its fullest. So the only things that I have not read, Fallen in Love, the final book, Rapture, but I will also be reading the other novella, Angels in the Dark, which is a 4.5, and then I will be listening to Unforgiven, which is like Daniel's POV. I still got some reading to go, ways to do, but I'm excited. I'm rejuvenated, you know? I'm having a good time. My whiteboard is pretty up to date. Apparently, those two motherfuckers fall in love. We're gonna learn all about them right now. Oh, another thing that I forgot to mention about passion is I do have a question. How specifically and especially Daniel is changing race? I did have to kind of look at this from a 2010s lens rather than a 2026 type of lens. Not that it was abhorrently bad. Again, there's not really like social commentary. She's not trying to do that. She does not really care to have discussions beyond like, ooh, a slavery thing. Like, it'll get better, sort of. People suck. It's like, it's not really saying much, but you do notice a pattern that, like, for the most part, when she's in a European white-centric country, she is well off. But when she's more of a person of color, she's living a little bit more barbaric. I don't really want to, like, speculate too far. I don't know enough about history either to be like, what's accurate or not. But it was a little bit interesting to be like, well, she's a princess in England, but she's a sacrifice for the Mayans. It's like, okay, sure. I do question how Daniel, though, changes his appearance time and time again. Like, how does he have tattoos in Tibet, but is like a normal white guy in England? Like, I really would love to know the evolution of angels and how they are able to change their appearances or get rid of tattoos or, like, stay up to date with the times. Like, you would imagine they would look the exact same in every life and never age, so it'd be like the Colin effect where it's like they'd have to move like every 3 or something years because he looks like a child. Which also, like, crazy to think that, like, the fallen angels were all teenagers. What's up with that? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Do they get to pick their ages? Like, I have so many questions on how, like, the logistics of angels work, and I know that's not the point of the book, but I do question how this is possible. Like, how he can be a dark-skinned man, like rich hot cocoa. We're trying to leave that in the past. But things like that, where it's like, how was he so dark-skinned and yet he's the whitest of white boys? Many questions, but it's fine. I'm, again, trying to, like, you know, go into this a little bit more lighthearted. I'm not trying to, like, read a book published from 2011 to filth, but, oh my god, guys, huge news, actually. News that I was not privy to until yesterday. I was hanging out on the gram, as you do, showing people my new cat clip. Very cute. But then I see Joanna, get a PR package from the Lauren Kate, and in it is a paperback copy of Fallen, the classic, and a new copy of her new release that I did not know was coming out. I didn't know that Lauren Kate was still writing. Like, I have Teardrop? Waterfall? That next, like, duology. I have the first book in that, and I never picked it up. And now she has a new book coming out in 2026. I feel like I've done, like, obviously, like, books take a lot longer than a couple of months. So obviously, like, this has been in the works for a while. But I feel like, in a way, I've kind of manifested this by doing this project, which is just crazy when the stars align. Maybe it was Lauren Kate and I, star-crossed lovers, this whole time. I'm so excited, though. I know nothing about it. I'm gonna look into it ASAP and probably get my grubby little hands on it. I'm so excited, though. Fiend. I've done it. I read it. This follows, I guess, 4 love stories. I was very surprised by Ariane because for some reason in Fallen, the first book, obviously, I thought that Roland and Ariane kind of had something going on between them, but apparently they're just best friends, which, like, slay, into it. I will say, I was not prepared or expecting Ariane to be my gay icon, but I do need Lauren Kate to speak on the crimes of making this sapphic couple so toxic. Like, hey, teenagers who would read the series, don't do self-harm because of a breakup. No. That's just not necessary, thank you. But it was nice to have Shelby and Miles and, like, their experience. Basically, this whole little mini novella takes place after Shelby and Miles meet up with Daniel before Daniel meets up with Lucinda before they return to the present. So they're making their journey back, and we get to see the glimpse into Shelby and Miles. Let me say, It's giving rebound. Miles was into Lucinda until she picked Daniel again, surprise, surprise. And Shelby was with this guy, Phil, who ended up being an outsider, who actually was like the reason Thanksgiving went bad because the outsiders came to attack. And so she's got bad taste in men, but you know, they were forced proximity, if you will, time traveling to the fucking medievals, and they're spending time together at the Valentine's Fair trying to make love happen. So, like, of course they're gonna fall in love. That's what happens when you travel with somebody for, like, canonically, like, 3 hours, but, like, what feels to you, like, forever. So they fall in love. It's fine. They're not my favorite couple, but, like, I kind of get it. And then we get Roland's perspective, and we just get, like, flashback memories of his one and only love in the same time, a little bit in the future, like 5 years from his big breakup that he's never recovered from because I guess time doesn't always heal all wounds. And his whole thing is that, like, he stops the husband of his true love from going to war so that he can be there for the children. Didn't feel a whole lot of which ways. Doesn't really feel all that romantic, but, like, sure, give him scraps. Why don't we? He did give me insight on angels can just choose how they want to look. Like, he prefers to be black because that's the skin that he's comfortable in and that's what's true to him. But, like, he can control his aging. Like, if he decides to be with this lady forever, as long as her lifetime is, like, he could just slowly age to match her. I don't really understand, like, why they don't do that more. Like, just live, like, a bajillion lives fully and just, like, live to be old and get, I don't know. I don't really get it. But whatever. I can't understand the politics of angels. But yeah, I guess they can just, like, change their appearances willy-nilly. Not explained, really, but that's a choice that they can make, which I guess explains why Daniel does that so much. Does it feel a slight bit retconny? Maybe, but, like, whatever. It is what it is. Was not a big grievance. Wish I had more lore still. And then we had Ariane, who was in a sapphic relationship with another fallen angel, Tess Real, who actually chose the Lucifer side of the Civil War, Angel War. I don't know what you would technically call it, but basically they're on opposite sides. They're kind of like enemies. And it ends very bloodied and sad. And so I don't know why we had to do that to my baby Sapphics, but that's okay. I did really like their chapter, at least, until it got super emo, which honestly, thank God I didn't read this in middle school, because, like, I was not okay in middle school. This would not have helped whatsoever. I was not mentally stable enough for this, so I'm glad I held off until I was an adult, where I'm okay. And then the final chapter is just wrapping up the Lucinda and Daniel perspective and what their first and only Valentine's Day went, and it was beautiful. I think that it's the closest that I've gotten to grand gestures or, like, proper romance between them. And I was like, yeah, no, I can see it. I can understand, like, this being a relationship-y thing, because he's, like, gone out of his way to do something for her. And it was just sweet. We had, like, a little glimpse of Cam as well, who's just, like, bitter because his marriage with a descendant of Lilith didn't go well, because he can't get married in a church, because if a fallen angel goes into a temple of God, kaboom. So he's like, I can't marry you in the temple. And she broke off the wedding. And he's been uber emo ever since. Doesn't believe in love, is just bitter to the end. So, backstories. Anywho, that's all for Fallen in Love. I thought this was a cute little novella. It didn't really wow me. I do think that this had some of the best descriptions we've gotten in the series so far. Lauren Kate is not, like, an astounding writer. No, not to be, like, rude about it, but just, like, it is straightforward. It's not hand-holdy, but it's also, like, not complicated in any way, shape, or form. It's just, like, very simple. It doesn't sound kind, but, like, it is simple writing. It's not the most descriptive. It's not very dialogue heavy. It is a lot more internal, but it's told in the third person. So I just feel like it's kind of plain, but not in a bad way. Not, like, bad writing. It's just, like, not very notable. Very easy to read. Makes sense for 11, 12-year-old Sam to be into, because I was bad at reading when I was a kid. And so it makes sense that it clicked and worked out well for me. But I would say this one's had, like, the best descriptions of just, like, being places and seeing things. It felt more vivid than Passion, which I think if I was to say, like, rewrite Passion, I would just add
a little bit more historical descriptions to things because that would be fun. But yeah, overall, a good solid time, nothing too crazy. I will be honest with you, I'm so tired. I would really like to sleep, but I also really need to like be reading these books and like getting this over with because I've procrastinated simply long enough. So I need to start Rapture. I need to make dinner, but I'm also like, it's late. So do I really want to cook? Struggles of being an adult and having to prepare your own food. Anywho, I probably should eat. I need to start Rapture. I'm probably not going to finish. It's going to take me about 4 hours to read. And realistically, I just don't foresee myself finishing it all tonight because I can't stay up late anymore. Like, it's just not in my bones. Every so often, I'll have one of those, like, oh no, I don't need to sleep for 2 days. And, like, that happens maybe a couple times a year. Other than that, like, 10 p.m., I need to be in bed. And it's past 10 p.m. So, like, I have to read more and eat. Oh, diabolical. Anywho, that's my 3.5 check-in. I will see you guys later when I figure out what the heck I'm gonna do. Good morning. Good morning. I have made it 60% into Rapture. I really haven't had a lot to say. I do think, objectively, this is probably the best book if you're looking for proper romance. Like, the couple is fully together. They're not fighting. They're not getting separated into announcers. Like, crazy stuff's not happening. We are currently, 5 days into our 9-day countdown for the big bads to happen. We haven't had a lot going on. We're basically hunting for 3 artifacts in hopes of bringing these ancient artifacts to one location that's like the closest to heavens you can get. And then hopefully those items reuniting at that one spot will guide them to where the actual fall happened, because it happened so long ago they don't remember like where on Earth they had stepped, seeing as like Earth wasn't really a thing then. And so they're hoping to find the fall, because the fall is going to be where Lucifer and his army first appear. And so we're hoping for that. And yeah, we're basically just like looking for artifacts. I will say the beginning of this book, just being Luce and Daniel in Italy, I adored it. I loved everything about that. That was a lot of fun. That was really good for me. So far though, it's been a lot of like chatting and finding stuff and going places and planning. There hasn't been like a whole bunch of action really, but I would honestly argue that not a lot happens in the entire series. Like, you have pockets of excitement and action, but for the most part, it is just a lot of like talking and observing, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, but I have noticed that like not like if you sat down and like I gave you just like full plot recaps, not a lot happens. But we are now at a part where we're revisiting Miss Sophia, who has kidnapped 3 of our gals, Cam included, and gals, and we're concerned about Gabby and Molly surviving. Cam, fine as always. He's not really in a love triangle anymore. Like, he's kind of just a sad puppy that hangs out and is like close to everybody. But now that Luce has finally come around to Cam again, we can't kill him simply. And if he does die, it has to be right at the end, you know. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we're concerned right now about Molly and Gabby. Refresher. Gabby is our Southern Belle, and Molly is kind of our bully, but who's now friend, but also still on opposite sides of the war. We do also have a new addition of a character. We have Dee, who is Miss Sophia's sister, and I guess is a big old redhead. And so she's there as well, trying to stop it. She's like, Dad suck, but like, you don't have to. And they're having a little sibling thing, but I don't think Miss Sophia is long for this world. But also, like, killing angels isn't really a thing. So, I don't know what the plan is. But basically, oh, and the other big thing. I don't have Phil on here because I really didn't think he would be this important. Maybe I will add him, but honestly, I couldn't give you a description for him either. But basically, Phil, who is Shelby's ex from Shoreline Academy, he is like one of the outsiders. There's a whole bunch of them. Basically, the outsiders were the angels who weren't able to make a decision in time whether they wanted to work with the throne or Lucifer. And so they're kind of just like this weird in between. They're not really a part of the scale when it comes to the balance of good and evil in the world. And Daniel is like the last hope, last chance of whichever side he falls to, that's gonna tip the scale. And so he's like the big player. But the outsiders decided to work with Daniel and his group after so longingly hoping that Lucifer would just press restart because they would like a better existence than they are having. But
I kid you not, Luce passes out, and then there's like an off-page agreement. And then we get like a little bit of explanation, but I was like, okay, sure. But yeah, Phil's on our side now. So we have the outsiders. I still to this moment do not understand what the scales are. They can travel through announcers. They've got like symbols on their neck, similar, but they're the throne side rather than Lucifer's side. But I don't know like what their purpose is. So I don't know. But yeah, I think that's everything to update. Again, there's really not like a lot going on, not a lot to say. I really enjoyed Italy though. One thing I do really like about this book and just like the series in general is like we really get to see different places, which is fun. I just think if my broke ass can't travel to all the countries, at least I can travel in books and it's almost as fun. So I will take it. But yes, I am chapter 12. I'm 264 pages in and I'm going to finish this right now. That's my big plans. And then I will jump into Angels in the Dark. And then I need to listen to The Unforgiven. And that's when I'm going to be productive. I'm going to play some Town to City. I'm going to do some laundry. I need to gather ingredients to take to my mom's house because I'm hanging out with her today because we're finishing A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So yeah, I've got some things that I need to do. So it'll be nice to have like an audiobook that I'm not physically reading along with for that. Because I know this book series isn't coming from a place of preaching religion, it's just more of like a already pre-made world building context to make honestly writing a book like this easier because it's like, oh, look at all the historical information we have and like the references. So I know that this isn't coming from like a preaching religion aspect, which I think is why the series doesn't bother me. But what does bother me is I had to kiss an Israeli soldier for that IDF jacket. I know that Lauren Kate does not know what we know today. And I'm sure she hasn't really made a stance because public figures and all that. But God, it is tough to read moments like that in books where you're just like, yeah, cool soldiers that I don't think should be there. Cool. Like it's just, there's just like small little moments where you're like, my lens of 2026 current day of things that I now know that I did not used to know when I was 12. A little bit of a different experience, but I'm getting close to the end. We just had the big reveal that Lucinda has been one of the angels all along. She was God's, the creator / the throne's third angel. So she was like a big deal. She was like one of the archangels. And then I guess God fucked off from the angels because he was like, I'm gonna go create Earth. I'm gonna make flowers and people and shit. And they were all worried that like humans were going to replace them, the angels. And so they were like, ooh, I don't know about that. And she's like, my entire existence is to adore this creator. And now he wants nothing to do with us because he's busy. Which I just think is really kind of funny, like from a non-religious perspective, like having that idea of like, yeah, God is a little selfish. So I just thought that was a little bit funny where he was like, yeah, and he left, and so I guess I'll fall in love with another angel and doom the world forever. Oh, it's funny. It's a little bit funny. I want to note about this that the writing in Rapture I think is the best in the whole series. I think that it's really improved. But oh Lord howdy, the dialogue is cringe. There's just some one-liners. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm gonna be honest. They're not doing it for me so much. Like all of them, I'm just like, why are we saying these things? Nobody would say this. So dialogue, not better. Writing, better. It's an interesting story. I need to update the board because Lucinda had to murder, and I use murder as like a harsh term. She had to sacrifice D, the angel, so that they could use Dee's blood to find the map to the fall. So now we're getting there. We're getting our memories back. We are at the fall landing, but it's not quite the 9th day, so they're not approaching yet, but they're going to be there any second. I'm going to finish this up. But yeah, those are my thoughts at this moment. I need to update the board. We've got 3 dead people and the war hasn't even started. If this war is like Breaking Dawn bullshit, where it's like we just talk and then everything is fine, I might fight. Kind of stuck here because I am surrounded by animals that I don't want to disturb. But I finished, and it was beautiful. I started to tear up when they were saying their final goodbyes because they decide that they want to live mortal lives and hope to find each other for their last time. Oh, brutal. It was beautiful though, like seeing all of the goodbyes with everybody, and it was just really sweet. And then like seeing where they're at, going to college, finding each other again, and then having the epilogue be from their friend's perspective, and they were like watching their first interaction, their first meeting, like it's a movie. It's just so freaking cute. It's just so sweet. It ended on such a perfect note. I think that it wrapped up really well. I thought that the like battle was a little bit underwhelming. It was really just like Lucinda talking to Lucifer because she remembered in her past angel life that Lucifer was her first love, but it was a lot more toxic and controlling, and that's not what she really wanted. And so she had this devotion to the throne. Her, by the way. Let's go. I was not expecting the creator to be a woman. Love that. But I do think it's like really pretty to be like, you're in a toxic relationship and then you're able to find that relationship that's healing and shows you what love should look like and what it's supposed to be. And that's just like a very relatable thing to go through. And I think just a very beautiful part of life. I hope that everybody gets to find that healing love that like restores everything. Oh, gorgeous. But I am very pleased with this one. I think that it ended so well. I think that it did everything it needed to do. I am applauding this one. So I'm going to sit on this couch a little bit longer with all these animals, and I'm going to read Angels in the Dark, which is about 40-ish pages, so it's not very long at all. And then I will jump into my audiobook of Unforgiven, Daniel's perspective. Although I do kind of wish that Unforgiven was going to be just like a major epilogue of like their first love, and it was just following Daniel and Lucinda in... what would that be? They would literally be existing right now. Like if Lauren Kate wrote the love story of Daniel and Lucinda, it would literally be 2026. The stars have aligned in so many ways for this video. It's incredible. Anyway, fantastic news. But yeah, I wish that Unforgiven was the 2026, like their final love story, but I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just the first book retold from his perspective, which I'm still interested in. So, joke's on me. Unforgiven, as I should have figured out, is about Cam, as he's got 15 days and a deal with Lucifer to make Lilith fall in love with him again.
Hi, I'm checking in because I finished Angels in the Dark. It's a lot of just like filler. It's like a couple of scenes that you don't see from different characters. It's not necessary, but it's short. It's like 44 pages, so like whatever. It was fine. We have our final board with our timeline from Passion and the love that we saw, as well as all of our many characters and their relations. R.I.P. to the fallen. There was quite a few in the end. I guess I should have made more gravestones, but in the end we had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Was it only 7? 7 deaths isn't too bad, I guess, for not having a big old war at the end especially. But it has been a lot of fun revisiting the series and reading it. It ended exactly how I wanted it to. It, again, was not overly preachy. It was definitely more like biblical historical backdrop rather than Christian influences, like especially not like the modern day. Like they're kissing like a Hannah Montana episode. Like there's many kisses. They don't go further. It is young adult, like in the classic way of like clothes stay on at all times. I am pleased with my experience. They hold up for the most part. Like there's a couple questionable things that I'm like, but for 2011, I think that they do pretty all right, like holding up. Like there's nothing too crazy or offensive. They just don't really say anything because at the end of the day, it's a paranormal romance. That's all it is. And that's all right with me. I will meet it where it's at and accept it for what it is. I have been listening to Unforgiven, which by the cover, I should have known, obviously this is Cam and not Daniel, but that's okay. That's on me. In this, we are following Cam. Right before he thinks the world's going to end, he is getting his last chance with his love, Lilith, who he almost married in 1000 BCE, but went horribly wrong because he couldn't get married in the temple. We've talked about this, I believe. And Lilith's whole thing was like, I curse you with my lineage of women hating you forever, so somebody's always cursing your name. And like, bars? All right, girl. Like, laying on him. So he's now trying to get this Lilith to fall in love with him, and he has 15 days. We have Lucifer starring as the intern, who's like kind of getting in the middle of their relationship, kind of sabotaging Cam left, right, and center everywhere he can. We have a battle of the bands at prom set up. Lilith is a singer and songwriter, and Cam is trying to be a supportive guy. Lilith also has a little brother who has some health issues, and they're also living in poverty, so Cam was like trying to be helpful there, but she hates him. She has no reason. It's because of this like passed down curse that she hates him for no reason, but like he keeps kind of cracking her a little bit, and she laughs a little bit, and she's like, he's kind of nice, and then something goes horribly wrong, and Cam has to like fight to make it up again, and it's like a whole situation. It's fine. It's so completely detached from the rest of the series. Like, we've already seen in Passion and Daniel's perspective, we already saw the marriage and how that went and how it fizzled and everything that went on there. So when we get those flashbacks, I'm not like surprised by anything, but overall, like, I think it's enjoyable enough. I think you could easily read this without having a lot of context of the Fallen series and still have a good time. I'm probably gonna finish it, but I think I'm gonna wrap up this video here. I don't think Cam's book will get a 5-star. It'll be probably 3.5, maybe 4 if the ending is great, but it is like your classic paranormal teen romance. It feels quite Disney, like DCOM movie-esque. It's very much like of my young teen years. It feels very reminiscent of that, and it's fun. I do recommend. It's not necessarily wowing me or doing anything revolutionary at the same time. And it is funny because Kate Lauren said that Cam was the bad guy, but based off of her husband, which is why she's like given him a redemption arc and like his own novel, because she ended up really liking him because, again, he's based off her husband, so that makes sense to me. That concludes this whole video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me as I got to revisit one of my favorite books, a book that really got me into reading. I always say that Caraval like really kicked it off, but truly Fallen was like the pre-Caraval to it all. And so it is really exciting to like revisit old literature that I haven't touched in 15 years. And I really enjoyed this process and experience, and I really appreciate you guys being with me on the ride. If you made it to the end of this video, you can leave an angel or demon like emoji down in the comments, just so I know that you made it to the end. And I will see you guys in my next video very soon. Have a lovely day. Bye!